Welcome back to the workbench. Today I'm taking a look at this, the Airfix Tiger 1 in 1/76 scale, which is part of the Vintage Classics range. Join me as I take a look inside the box and find out what this one is like. Hi, I'm Matt and you're watching Model Minutes. So this kit in particular has pretty much been part of the Airfix range for almost as long as Airfix has been in existence. On the front of the box we've got a rather exciting image of the Tiger 1 in the desert undertaking some sort of combat. Over here on the right it tells us it's part of the Vintage Classics range, which is Airfix's way of releasing their very old models without actually people being confused with whether it's a new tool or not. Down here, bottom left corner, it tells us that the scale is 1/76 scale, and up here we've got the price of £5.99, and that's actually the recommended retail price for this particular kit. Flipping over to the back, and what we're presented with are the colour, painting and decal placement instructions. This is quite a familiar feature for this particular series of kits. Down here it tells us that we need 33 black, 63 sand and 113 rust, so it's not going to be a particularly difficult kit to paint. Up here as well we've got the decals, and you can see that there are actually only 6 of them, so again it's not going to be particularly difficult. The short edges of the box feature the same image along with the code for the kit, so you can identify it on the shelf. Then one long edge of the box has some safety warning information, some symbols and contact addresses for Hornby, and the Airfix brand falls under the Hornby Hobbies family. Here it tells us that this is suitable for those aged 8 years and older. And then we flip over to the other edge and we get some information about the actual kit, telling us that the moulding, the tools were made in 1964 and the illustration was by G. Schul in 1965. It gives us some information about the actual Tiger 1 along with the length, width and the number of pieces, which is 68. So that's quite a lot of pieces really. Going along we get 2 decal and painting instructions here. So we've got one already annotated on the back, so the other one must be included in the instructions inside. The first one is for a Tiger 1 in North Africa in 1943 and the second one is for a Tiger 1 in Normandy in June 1944. It's annotated here that it's a skill level 2, so it shouldn't be too difficult to build and to paint, but again take that with a pinch of salt because everybody's different. And then we get 1 flying hour. So if you cut that out and keep it, you can redeem it against more model kits, effectively sort of for free. You just pay for postage if you are a member of the Airfix Club, which at the time I made this video they had just announced it was returning. With the outside of the box taken care of, let's get inside and see what we get. As is normal, I'm going to take a look at the instructions first. So we've got the very familiar booklet from Airfix. It's printed in colour as well, which is really nice to see. And on the front here we get information about the actual Tiger 1. And then down here we've got some information saying that you need to wash the kit before you build it because the mould tools are quite old, so they probably used some releasing agent and that will need to be removed so that the paint and glue sticks properly. Turning over the page and we've got some health and safety information, a key to the various symbols, and then we're straight on to building the model. And these first couple of steps are the reason why there are so many parts. The Germans did love to over-design their vehicles, and this model kit is pretty much in line with that. Every single wheel is a separately moulded part, and as you can see there are like 30 wheels being added to one side of the tank here and then repeated in step 2. The construction of the main body of the tank is a little bit more simple. It's pretty much just a box assembled, and annotated paint colours are also written onto here. We add the 2 sides of the tank to the hull. We add a couple of little details here. We assemble the turret, and then we add it all together to the main body of the tank. So ultimately there isn't really that much going on. It's just that these steps, although I think they're quite clear, they just have a lot of parts that need to be built and sandwiched up as you go on. It's just a lot of wheels. You've got a lot of wheels on this one. And then we go down here and you can see that they have included the rubber band tracks, which are not my favourite way of doing tracks, but the method of joining them is to heat a knife and then melt the two sort of hole and sockets together, and that should give you a strong bond. So that's it, 7 steps. It might not present too many problems when you come to build it. The instructions are relatively clear. There's nothing picked out in colour on here, but I imagine that's because these are pretty much the old instructions and just updated for today. Perhaps they could have made it a little bit bigger just to make it a bit more clearer, but that's not a problem. And yes, I was right. So on the last page we get the other painting instruction for the other Tiger 1. And again, this is printed in colour, and that is fantastic because it helps just clear up any confusion you might have. And then down the bottom it says here that you need these for paint colours to do this particular tank. So that's the instructions done. Let's take a look at the decals. We get a nice little sheet of decals. At the top we've got one Tiger tank, and at the bottom we've got the second. Airfix generally does quite a good job of their decals, and these are no exception. They seem to be well printed with no registry issues, and given the low number of decals, this would probably be suitable for a beginner just to get some experience of doing them. Right, let's take a look at the plastic parts. He says, looking for his scissors. Contained within this plastic bag, you get all of the plastic components moulded in a sort of sand colour plastic. As was typical with model kits of this era, they all sort of come loose. You don't get any of those big trees or sprues or frames or whatever you want to call them around the outside. Like I said, because you don't get the frame around the outside and you've got these 7 smallish sprues loose in the bag, you do run the risk that they could come loose and just be left floating around in the bag. Fortunately though, that doesn't seem to have happened here. So let's take a look at them and see what the mould quality is like. Generally they look to be okay. There is a bit of flash in places. There's a bit of excess plastic on this wheel here. The moulding is quite well done. We've got some ejector marks here as well, which you're going to have to clean up. The moulded detail is okay. I'm not anticipating there to be much moulded detail given the age of this particular kit, but it looks to be okay. There's quite a bit of flash here. Onto the sides of the tanks. Again, these sort of lugs for the wheels, they've got flash on which will need to be cleaned up. Nothing seems to be moulded badly, there just seems to be excess flash. Everything seems to be here as well. I don't see any missing pieces. It's the barrel of the tank. You see there's quite a bit there that will need to be removed. You could drill that out as well if you really felt like it. I particularly like that these sprockets have actually got see-through bits. That's nice. But there's still a lot of flash here that I need cleaning up. The plastic does feel a little bit oily actually now I mention it. It does have a sort of slippery, greasy feel to it. So just be aware of that when you come to build this. Again, just a bit of excess plastic here and there. The details on here are quite large. I don't know if they would have really been that sort of thick and clunky in real life. And then the last sprue here, just more of the same really. Finally, the rubber band tracks, and again they are to a similar quality. A little bit of flash here. Didn't really realise you could get flash on these ones, but you can. And they seem to be a little bit sort of off centre. They seem to be a little bit sort of twisted, but hopefully when I put them on the kit they won't look too bad. So that's it. It's not a particularly complicated kit. It's not got much in the way of detail. I don't really think that the actual Tiger 1s did have a lot of stuff on the outside of them. They looked pretty much like boxes to me. The parts are reasonably well moulded, but as I said, there is a lot of flash that's going to be needed to be cleaned up. So let's wrap this one up. We had all of these components contained within their bag. Very nice decals, as is to be expected from Airfix these days, and a set of instructions that you shouldn't have any trouble with following. All of this comes contained within a nicely illustrated box. And that is that. So let's talk a little bit about the history of this kit. So like it said on the actual outside of the box, this was tooled in 1964. But this has pretty much been in the Airfix range since then. It's been one of the most popular ones, and it was released every 2 or 3 years after that point in a new box or a new gift set of some sort. It has also become part of the Hella range in about the 90s onwards, because Hella and Airfix did share a sort of family at that point. This particular version dates from 2019, so being 2020 now, this would be the most recent version of it. And up here, top corner, you can see that that's the price I paid for it, and that is the RRP. And do I think that is a suitable price for this? Well, it sort of goes in line with the other kits in the range, because they all do charge that much for those kits. But I feel like it should maybe be slightly cheaper. I get the impression that they probably have recovered the costs of the toolings for this by now, seeing as it has been part of the range for so long. Perhaps if they made this one a bit cheaper, it might make it more accessible to sort of pocket money sort of buyers. That being said though, Airfix have actually announced that they've got a new tool, Tiger 1 kit, coming this year, 2020. So let's keep an eye out for that and see how it actually compares to this one. I hope it does actually blow this one out of the water, so I might have to get one to see what the differences are. But in general, this is an interesting subject in a slightly odd scale, but it should go with those 1/72 figures or aircraft that are lying around if you're like making dioramas like me. And also feel free to let me know which version you think I should do. Should I do the desert one or should I do the Normandy one? I'm probably edging towards doing the desert one so that I can put it with my Panzer II that I did not long ago. So as if I put those together on display, I think that would look quite nice. Also feel free to let me know any other suggestions for models you might like to see me build or feature on my channel. Before I finish the video, a quick mention to my patrons over on Patreon. A massive thank you to you for the support that you give the channel. To find out more about what pledging your support means and the perks you get, including early access to videos and other behind the scenes stuff, take a look at the link in the description. Also, don't forget that you can connect with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and my own Discord server. Oh, and if you made it this far and you enjoyed what you saw, please click that like button and subscribe with notifications on so that you don't miss any future modelling content. All that's left to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the workbench again next time.